This is crazy, but I'm gonna do it. This is so dumb. What am I doing? Oh my gosh, it actually went Earthquake too. Oh my gosh, we tanked that well? Oh, that actually worked out so well too. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and you're enjoying Ultra League so far. There's been a decent amount of changes in this season for moveset updates. Personally, something I really wanted to make work in the past is Steelix in Ultra League, but I never really figured out a way to use it properly until this season. And I decided to try out one of my Great League variation teams in Ultra League, and that was the Tapu Fini Shadow Drapion Bastion line. I decided to swap out the Bastion for Steelix, and it's been working out really well. I am currently on the leaderboard running just this team in Ultra League. Some of my patrons are even higher on the leaderboard using this team than I am, so they're running even better than me. The Drapion I use is Shadow, but you can also use a non-Shadow variation. And for Steelix, you can always replace with Glaring Sunfist or Regirock would be my recommendation. Before we get into the battles, a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would also like to have early access to my strategies and lineups, or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the Patreon link down below. So a very popular team that's been around in Ultra League this season is the team that House Stark created. It is Pidgeot with double Swords of Justice fighters. So Cobalion's one of them. Usually has the counter swap here into the Drapion because they resist pretty much every move except for Aqua Tail. So it's a really tough matchup. Honestly, Drapion is really strong overall as a safe swap, but against Cobalion it does struggle quite a bit. So Pidgeot, Cobalion, and then if things are right, then it's going to be a Virizion on the back, and that's really tough because besides the Pidgeot in the lead, you're pretty much hard counter throughout. So what I usually do here is I farm as much as possible here. A lot of Pidgeots will shield, so I'm going to farm as much energy as I can, so to potentially grab a shield here, and I do throw a Surf, and it does not get shielded. So funny enough, I didn't realize this until afterward, but I actually faced this trainer about an hour or two prior to this. So they actually knew my team, and I didn't really know this until after reviewing the footage. So they don't actually have a Virizion. The first time around I faced him, they also had a Swampert. Honestly, Swampert's probably even worse than Virizion in my opinion, because at least Virizion, you have the Psychic Fangs that's super effective. Here, they're just doing neutral damage, but Steelix super tanky, and with the coverage of both Crunch and Psychic Fangs, you can do quite a bit here. I'm actually going to stay in here. Main reason because they have to go Brave Bird to take me out, and that's what they do. And if I swap out here, they could just farm me down. That puts me in a tougher spot. Able to get to Surf and just Water Gun down. So starting off with a bang, that is a situation where I'm pretty much hard counter in both backline matchups and never have switch advantage. But the bulk of Steelix and the utility of Tapu Fini really can make it shine. Yeah, this team really has a lot of play against pretty much any team, as long as you play out your shields and your energy management well. Once in a while you get super hard counter. I'll show some of that as well too. But overall, most of my losses are actually misplays or really well placed by my opponents, but they're not unwinnable. So able to flip switch advantage there, which is kind of nice. Because I had a slight energy lead there, I knew I was going to win that switch advantage. My guess is they have another thing for the Tapu Fini here, but either way, I am going to try to preserve this Steelix and go straight for the super effective Crunch. This often gets shielded, but this time it does not. Sometimes it may shield, but even if it does get shielded, you can tank Shadow Balls pretty easily. You can tank 2 Shadow Balls, no problem. And now I'm going to throw a Psychic Fangs here, and it's actually a Tentacruel. So we got double Poison and Grass, both terrible for Tapu Fini. So Tapu Fini literally has nowhere to go. However, I figured, you know what, I'm just going to debuff it to the point where it's going to start shielding the Psychic Fangs, or it has to throw off its energy to get rid of this, and it only has Acid Spray here in all likelihood, and so they're going to clear the debuff, but it puts it low enough so I could just Water Gun down, and we managed to take it out with a Tapu Fini, even though Tapu Fini didn't really have too much play. Again, another really terrible lead. I'm going to just show you all these really bad leads and how to play around them, just because, the easy matchups are like the Obstagoon and Scrafty leads. Those are much easier to handle. But these Cresselia leads, these Grass leads, they're much harder. Poison leads, etc. So Obstagoon, pretty common counter swap. You really can't ever win switch here, so you just want to chip as much as possible. And they're gonna just probably throw another cross chop to take me out. You don't really want to switch lock yourself. You just want to farm as much as possible. Most of these do not carry Hyper Beam nor Gunk Shot, and you'll probably see the cross chop if they have it in the Drapion matchup. And in all likelihood, they have Night Slash or Obstruct. So you know you really can resist everything. And here comes a Giratina. So quite the core breaker Steelix is, because able to take out both the Giratina and the Cresselia pretty easily, walling off this dragon damage. It's so nice. And being so bulky, even the neutral Shadow Sneaks and Grasslands will not be enough. And this is where I think Galarian Stunfisk does not do nearly as well against, because it doesn't have the same type of bulk there, and you have to go straight for Earthquakes to really take out both Cresselia and Giratina here. Able to bait with a Psychic Fangs too, it just makes Steelix really strong. Look at how bulky this thing is, chewing apart this Cresselia here. And now that they throw the Grass Knot, I still survive the Grass Knot too, and they're going to concede the match. Tapu Fini pretty much didn't have to do anything. You know, it's kind of crazy, but this team, if played well, can really just do a ton of work even without all three Pokemon involved. All right. So my opponent here is going to go for that Poison Fang. I find that most Nidoqueens, even if they build up to Earth Power, do not throw it. So I often gamble. I did shield quite a few times in the past, but a lot of times I just choose not to shield. It's kind of based on feel. You know, every player plays differently, but I will say a lot of them tend to throw that Poison Fang. All right, so Regiseal. This is kind of a tough one. It looks like Cranberry is out of here, but that's fine. She don't want to see this Regiseal madness, but Regiseal, you just want to chip down with the Drapion and the Tapu Fini, and at this point, I'm going to just let it go. They do throw the Zap Cannon as well, too, but I could just Water Gun all the way down. Hopefully, this seems like it's going to be a Focus Blast, so I'm not going to shield it. And then I have energy to potentially throw a Surf, but they actually have Trevenant, so again, a team that's triple strong against Tapu Fini. You got the Regiseal, you got the Nidoqueen, and the Trevenant. But using Steelix as a core breaker here, it could be really solid. And again, the resisted Poison Jabs is doing a lot of work as well here too. So that's going to be huge. And we take out the Nidoqueen. I'm going to bait with the Psychic Fangs here. If they don't shield, that at least guarantees a debuff. And that's exactly what happens. But maybe I should have gone for the Crunch. As you can see, my opponent does get to this final Shadow Ball. So I just need to get to 2 Surfs here, which it can be close, but we're going to throw this first one, and we just need to get the second one before they get to another C-Bomb, and we do get it. So, again, Tapu Fini having some play even against a team that's triple strong against it. Going against my friend HM London here. Going to be the Shadow Dragonite with Superpower. Good news is with Superpower, pretty much all of them hold that on top of Dragon Claw. You resist all the moves. Before, they might have Hurricane, which is a little different, but yeah. Anytime people swap in a Regiseal, I just stay in, do as much damage as possible, shield the Zap Cannon, and then swap out to Drapion, right? Because then you could do much better. If they lead Regiseal, it's a little bit tougher because you kind of have to just dip after the first Zap Cannon, so you don't do nearly as much damage. But I find that Regiseals are not nearly as hard to take out as you would imagine. And so I'm going to throw this Aqua Tail, which sometimes catches people off guard because they don't expect it. They're expecting a Crunch. We do get hit by the Focus Blast, but that's okay. And now here comes a Galarian Stunfisk. Again, something you don't really want to see on the Steelix side of things. So we're just going to spam away with these Aqua Tails. You could always run Crunch and Sludge Bomb instead, but I typically enjoy the Aqua Tails a little bit more. And this is going to be kind of an obvious rock size, so I'm just going to let it go and farm a little extra Water Gun and throw, and then they actually come in Dragonite. This is huge, right? And obviously he doesn't know what I have in the back here, otherwise he might have not done that. But this Dragonite is going to hit me with Superpower, but I believe I can take it out before it gets another one. And now I have energy on the Steelix, and they're locked in here. That's the most important thing. Because he swapped earlier, he is locked in to this matchup, so he can't possibly swap out. And I swapped to my Galarian Stunfisk and forced him to throw his energy. I think he knew it was over at that point, which is why he went for the Earthquake. But we are going to finish off this Galarian Stunfisk, the Regiseal, and the Galarian Stunfisk. Virizion, another recent addition with the double kick being super strong. It's pretty good against the whole line, to be honest. It's probably worst matchup is against a Drapion. I don't know. Drapion, it resists all my charge moves too, so I can't really even say that much. But we're just going to do what we can here. And so they come in with their own Drapion. At this point, they could preserve switch advantage. This is not terrible for me, because if they're running Aqua Tail Crunch, then I could potentially just Water Gun down, and they revealed the Aqua Tail, which is huge. So now I know this is very unlikely going to be a Sludge Bomb, so I'm going to just let it go, farm up energy here. Energy on my Tapu Fini could be very nice because you have the super effective Moonblast, you can even bait with the Surfs, and they actually come in with the Shadow Skunting. So Grass and double Poison. Ugh. So this is super tough. Again, one of those teams where they're triple strong against Tapu Fini. Of course, I'm showing you a lot of battles where Tapu Fini is really bad in. A lot of my matches were pretty good, which I was still able to climb. I'm just kind of showing you how even against really bad odds, you can sometimes still win. This is a tough one though, because I'm stacking up these Psychic Fangs, and you're gonna see how much this does. Virizion, Cobalion, both super bulky, and so it does put me in kind of a tough spot in most situations. Even after double debuff, it still does quite a bit of damage here. Maybe I should have tried to catch a move here. That might have been my win condition, but I thought maybe I could survive. But yeah, unfortunately not able to. Again, triple counters to Tapu Fini or even any of the 3 Pokemon is always a tough time. It tends to be Tapu Fini if you're going to have one of those, but that's all good. Alright, so my opponent is going to go for Acid Spray here, and then they swap over to the Scrafty. So it looks like it's a Poison and potentially double Dark Line. Technically triple Dark Line because you have the Alolan Muk. But the Scrafty is going to come in here. Now the good part is they have Acid Spray, which means they probably don't have Sludge Wave. So I'm just come in here and just farm this as hard as I can. I want to do as much damage as possible here. Do as much damage as possible, because I know that they can't really take me out with a single charge room. So probably Acid Spray, which is fine. And then I go for the Moonblast because they already spent, I believe, a shield. No, they didn't. Yeah, so that was the first shield. Unfortunately, I don't get to the Surf there. I just misclicked. I honestly should have thrown it. So kind of a misplay by me. But again, these super resistant Poison Jabs is really nice for the Steelix, because now you could just consistently farm all the way down here, get a lot of energy. Maybe not having the Surf is for the best. And they actually come in the Scrafty here, so I'm going to throw this Aqua Tail to see what I can do. And we do take out the Scrafty, and here comes a Giratina. So usually a pretty good situation, but I'm below half health at this point. And they also are running Shadow Claw. They're not even running the Dragon Breath variant. Dragon Breath variant would have been a little bit nicer, but I am going to just spam away. I don't really want to bait with Psychic Fangs in case one of them gets misbaited. And as you can see, still doing a lot of damage. I'm going no shield, potential Dragon Claw. I know I survived the Shadow Sneak, and we still finish it off after even not throwing that Surf against the Muk. So even with a misplay there, still able to clutch it out. Now these are obviously better leads, so what I do when they swap in a Dark Poison, I typically just go Steelix, and you're going to see why. These are resisted Poison Fangs, right? And I am just doing resisted Poison Fangs, which Poison Fang itself just does not do a lot of damage as well. And on top of that, I'm not throwing, I'm just throwing neutral, non-stab Dragon Tails, but as you can see, able to just completely beat this Dark Poison, coming away with a bunch of energy on top of that too. So really nice. Crunch is going to do a little more damage here, so I'm going to throw it. Not by much, to be honest. Maybe I should have thrown the Psychic Fangs. I wasn't sure if I was going to get to both. But because they can swap out, there's not really too much of a reason to debuff, and they actually swap earlier. Now this is one of those mind games. 2 shields on each side. A lot of Nidoqueens tend to go Poison Fang. So you just have to make a judgment call, because this matchup is not easy because these Poison Stings aren't doing too much damage. But you do have to potentially let the first one go, or just shield that Earth Power to ensure you win it. Otherwise it gets a little tricky. So still not a great matchup, but at this point able to pretty much take out this Nidoqueen. Still have a shield remaining, which is huge, and my opponent is going to concede the match right there. Alright, another very positive lead here too, and then a gray counter swap as well. So this is really nice, because against Cresselia, you want to throw the Crunch as soon as possible, even if you don't get a debuff. The most important thing, and I would definitely check the IVs on your own Drapion just to make sure, but especially Shadow Drapion, you win this without having to shield. So that's really important. Anytime you can maintain switch advantage and not shield, that's huge. You can farm down, even if they debuff you with a Moonblast, there's no reason to shield that. But you want to throw the Crunch before they throw the Moonblast. If they throw the Moonblast before you, and you throw after them, they could potentially shield your Crunch and then win switch by just double shielding, right? So you never want to be put in that situation. You want to dictate the pace of the matchup there. They actually have a Swampert in the back here too. So this is actually kind of interesting, because I'm not really strong against this with Steelix. Steelix kind of loses both Swampert and Talonflame, so my Tapu Fini is going to have to put in a little extra work, but that'll happen. And then I go for a catch here, which likely is a Brave Bird they swapped in because they kind of have to throw it, and they're going to concede the match right there. So definitely maybe not a necessary play, but I figured why not go for it if I figured they were going to go for that Brave Bird. All right, Jellicent. Jellicent is definitely a tough one. You have decent counters for Jellicent in the back, right? Steelix is pretty good against it with the Crunch and neutral Dragon Tails, and then Drapeon's great against it. But here's the thing. Galarian Stunfisk in Ultra League is much different than Great League. So if you played any of my Shadow Drapion safe swap lines in Great League, you'll see that, yeah, Aqua Tail is great. You could flip this advantage and stuff, especially if they don't bait, right? And my opponent here is not baiting. They're going straight Earthquake every time. But this is 100% max out best buddy Galarian Stunfisk, the best you can have in Ultra League, and it is tough to deal with. Getting to 3 Earthquakes even after burning 2 shields on my end. They threw 3 Earthquakes in that time period, which is crazy. So this is one of the tough ones where, unfortunately, if your opponent knows how to play it well and they understand the bulk of their Galarian Stunfisk, they'll know that they can win switch advantage. A lot of players don't fight for switch advantage as hard, and that's where you can really take advantage. But in that situation, I am in a tough spot because of it, because now they have switch alignments, and I'm just in a terrible spot. There's no way I could really win this one, unfortunately. But that's all good. So that's just something to know. If you do see the Galarian Stunfisk and they are playing it out like they're going to go for switch, maybe it's good to save shields there. If I had a shield advantage at the end there, I still lose, because shield advantage, Steelix not going to do much against the Crafty there. But that's okay. All right, so Walrein. This is an interesting one. A lot of them throw Icicle Spear here first. I typically no shield, but I've been running into a couple that have been throwing straight Earthquake. So in this situation, I decide to actually let it go, and let's see if I could come back from it. Obviously, if they no shields, or sorry, if they bait with Icicle Spear and you no shield it, you're in a great spot, right? So I aggressively lock myself in, and I draw out the Drapion, and now they are locked into this matchup, and I figured they probably have Crunch with the Sludge Bomb because they threw Sludge Bomb. And that's fine. Crunch or Aqua Tail is fine here. I have a lot of energy on the Steelix though, and that's really the best utilization for Steelix. It serves a lot like Bastion in the sense that you could soak a lot of damage and farm up energy and put on a decent amount of fast move pressure. Both Pokemon are super bulky, so it's not a ton of fast move pressure, but enough so that you don't have to rely on throwing your energy on like a Galarian Stunfisk or Registeel. All right, so in this situation, we're just going to go straight for the Psychic Fangs. I think a lot of players still might anticipate a potential Earthquake, so it's always good to build a little extra energy. They go straight for the Earth Power, which they need to, and Tapu Fini finishes off. So even after getting hit by an Earthquake that one-shots my Drapion there, still to come back from it. All right, Shadow Swampert. This is a pretty solid one. Again, a lot of them tend to bait, but it's kind of 50-50 call. I'm showing a situation where I don't shield the Earthquake, and I'm forced to shield the Hydro Cannon because I just want to show you all how there's still play here. You can still potentially come back from this. All right, so I'm going to swap to my Drapion here, and no shield of Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon's not going to do a ton here, and they actually come in with a Talonflame. Here's where optimized charge room timing is really important. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you check out my optimized charge room timing video. Not letting any extra turns go through, especially on an Incinerate user, is huge. If you think about it, this Shadow Drapion just took out a Talonflame, and I was already at half health. So really having a lot of utility here, and I'm going to spend my last shield here, and I hope that they're not super strong to Steelix in the back here. I'm going to catch their second Hydro Cannon here, though, because I knew they had 2, and then now they have a Cresselia. Now this is huge because you're going to see how much these Grass Knots do, and it's not going to be a good time. All right, so let's take a look here. Very little damage, and again, if you pay attention, I'm optimizing my charge move timing with the Steelix against the Cresselia to really ensure I'm maximizing the amount of energy and damage in my fast moves I'm doing while minimizing the amount of free turns they get. They try to swap there. I kind of saw it coming, so I'll just build them to 2 moves so I could throw both. I think they just go for a future set just to mess around, but we do take out the Cresselia there. All right, so even without shielding the Earthquake, you know, it could be still nice. All right, Giratina. So typically speaking, Tapu Fini is pretty good against it, but Shadow Call Giratina, and it does take quite a bit to get to Moonblast, and they resist all the Water Guns. If they run Dragon Breath, it's a little different of a story, but I typically like to swap out here anyway. Steelix and Drapion are both very, very good against Giratina, and they actually swap to there's Sylveon. So I'm going to throw Aqua Tail. They don't know I don't have Sludge Bomb, but if they know my counts, they know that it can't be a Sludge Bomb either way. And then again, because they have a Charmer here, they're probably not going to throw a lot of charge moves, so I'm going to shield a Side Shock. Now I have enough for a Moonblast, which is nice. I'm expecting double Charm. That's exactly what it is. You see this a lot, Giratina double Charm, so I am going to get to another Moonblast, mainly because Steelix charge moves are not going to do a lot, so you want to do as much damage as you can here. I'm going to shield. Weather Ball, I think, does a little bit more damage than Shadow Sneak. It's about the same, to be honest. Neither are really going to do a ton, but it's just really at that point shielding what makes the most sense. Steelix is going to do pretty good against this line overall. You're doing double resisted Dragon Tails, but if you just keep throwing the Psychic Fangs, it tends to add up, and you do resist the charms as well. I'm just going to throw these back-to-back Psychic Fangs and just take out this little Ninetales. So Giratina double Charm, if you're not a big fan of it, this team will do pretty well. And last but not least, we got a mirror team. This is actually not one of my patrons, so I don't know if I faced them earlier or they came up with the same exact team themselves, or they faced one of my patrons using the team and they thought it was good. Don't really know, but either way, they're playing it out kind of interestingly here. So my guess is they're actually not one of my patrons because they are not running Aqua Tail, so they don't know the same exact, they're not running the same moveset in all likelihood. And typically speaking, I stay in Tapu Fini against Tapu Fini. That was actually a misplayed by me. I had the Psychic Fangs ready, but I just didn't throw it. And they throw a Crunch here, that's fine. Now they come in with their own Steelix. I had no idea it was a mirror until I saw this, right? So I was kind of laughing a little bit because I was like, all right, this is kind of interesting. So I want to do as much chip damage here as possible. I don't really have great coverage for the Tapu Fini anyway, so this is pretty good utilization of the Drapion in my opinion. And they're going to throw a Psychic Fang, so I'm going to swap over here. I don't want them to farm too much, and this way I still have the Drapion for a sack swap. But I get hit by a debuff, and this is unfortunate. I do have an energy lead here, but the debuff, you can see the water gun's really adding up. And one of my least favorite things, if you know anything about me, is losing a mirror line, especially a mirror line of a team that I created, because that's the ultimate flex. So they no shield the Surf there, and I do shield the Surf, so that's really not great for me. I'm going to throw another Surf here, and they probably have to shield this even if they know it's a Surf. And now I have to time a catch, and I don't know how I timed this, but it ended up working out really, really well. And then we throw the Surf here to take out the Tapu Fini. They still have the Steelix in back, but double resisted Dragon Tails is going to come in clutch. And we win the mirror matchup, which was definitely a sweaty one. And I had some misplays, but I'm glad the one mirror we faced, we were able to win. This is definitely becoming one of my favorite teams to play in Open Ultra League as well, especially with all the new updates. If you decide to give this team a shot, best of luck. Definitely study the matchups I list out in this video on how to play them out. It does take a little practice getting used to, and I know a lot of my patrons struggled maybe a little bit earlier, but a lot of them did also mention that, you know, after a little bit of practice, they were to climb a lot of points with it as well. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.